For the NFL football season, so we all thought, we didn't invite Tracy to the meeting yesterday, we all thought we would talk a little bit about football. You're a big football fan, right, Tracy? You were okay with that?
This was a big joke, actually. Actually, the company is called Fantasy Planet, and Chris Carter will appreciate this. I thought we were talking lingerie.
Well, we could if you want.
We could always turn midstream.
I figure that's exactly why.
We can always make a change.
I thought that's why I was invited to the show.
Let's check with the control room.
The nod from my side over here. This side of the desk, I got to tell you, you get the nod. There's enough time for fantasy football.
I'm going to go with way more interesting than football. No?
Well, the lingerie bowl, because we could all kind of play into each other. Remember, they have that after the Super Bowl.
I would agree with you.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, 22% of U.S. adult males.
Yes, like lingerie.
No, it's much higher than that.
Oh, okay,
so you're right. So maybe now, since we want to hit the demographic right, the 22% of adult males that have internet access play fantasy sports, one sport or another. So baseball and football, those are the two most popular ones. So you can see, I'm sure the percentage of those that like lingerie are much higher than 22%. But still, from a marketing standpoint, marketers look at this and say 22%, that's a pretty high percentage of the population. And it's also a very dedicated group of individuals that you can really target with certain advertising campaigns, and a lot of people are jumping on this thing.
People are obsessed with it. They really are. Are you into fantasy football?
I play fantasy college football, and I actually play fantasy NASCAR.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. Not only do I play it, I'm the defending champion.
But I have to tell you, one, I'm dumbfounded that people are spending money, even in this economy, on this stuff. They're spending loads.
It's not that expensive, though. I mean, most leagues are free. 90% of the leagues out there are free, and only the handful that aren't free are only, $250 at most to jump in. Some of the guys will obviously have side bets here and there. Most leagues do, but for the most part, it's not that expensive.
Yeah, my son and I are doing it. We have a team together.
I was just going to say, my son and my ex-husband are doing it together.
Yeah, so we're.
So what? It's family bonding. That's how you're going to sell it to me?
It is. Like, yeah, a bunch of the guys on our block, father and son thing, and we're doing it, and so it's a good excuse to pretend we're doing that. And
here's something
to pretend we're bonding.
Let's bring in Craig Davis real quick. He's from fantasyplanet.com, Oklahoma City. Tracy didn't know about the website, Craig, but we all do, and she thought it was something different, Fantasy Planet. It's got a dirty mind, Tracy Burns.
It's just...
Tell us about these numbers, by the way, Craig. Chris was talking about how, so many adult males are into it. I mean, the numbers just keep going up and up, right?
Yeah, it's an upward trend. We've seen it even with the down economy. We've seen fantasy football take off. Every year we see a 10 to 12% increase in the number of people playing fantasy football. Now, the leagues go down, the number of leagues people play in, but the amount of money spent in terms of playing fantasy sports and in essence fantasy football has gone up each of the last couple of years.
Why is it going?
Despite the fact
the economy's a mess, as we talk about on this show every day, but this, more people are finding time or money, even in some cases, to do this. I mean, what do you make of that trend?
I think it's just the fact that they've got a shot to win money. I mean, it's just the thrill of playing and the opportunity to win some big cash. I mean, that's why you see those big tournaments, the WCOFF and the NFFC and the FF Open Championship crowned its first $1 million champion last year. So the opportunity to win a lot of money is probably the biggest thing that's driving people to play right now.
Yeah.
Craig, keep in mind I'm a total novice here, but is it a lot like going to the movies? I mean, I could still fork up, even if the ticket is $15 to go to the movies. I don't have a ton of cash to, take my kids to a Broadway play, but I could pull off a movie. This isn't a load of money. It's entertainment for me. Even if I'm struggling, money's tight, I could still afford to do something like this and have a really good time with my friends and children, according to Conall McShane.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be a hobby. It's now a business, but it's still a hobby to those who are passionate about it. In fact, a recent study said that about 60% of people that admitted they play fantasy football are passionate about it, and they save their money from December until August when they can play in their fantasy football leagues, whether it be in a local league at work or whether it be, one of those high-stakes leagues. There's an opportunity for them in the first 8 months of the year to save the money to play in some of these big leagues, and they look forward to it. I mean, these people are passionate about fantasy football and fantasy sports in general, and they save that money and then spend it on 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 4 leagues.
Craig, you mentioned the passion, and that sort of plays into advertisers out there looking for ways to really directly target a passionate audience. And I know Snickers and Best Buy and Yahoo has been involved heavily in this, obviously with CBS Sportsline too, but Ford Motor Company, Coors Light. It seems like more advertisers are jumping on board here because this is such a dedicated group. Are you kind of seeing that year over year? We're really getting growth?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, you look at the demographics, and the average age is somewhere between 22 and I would say 45, and most of them are male, but there is about an 18% female demographic there, and everybody's spending money, and these people are passionate. They're college educated for the most part, and they make an average household income of about $85,000. So these people have some discretionary funds to spend.
And most of them have jobs, which leads you to the next question, which we see this story all the time, by the way, when the NCAA tournament is going on, is how much productivity do we lose? It's a serious question, though, and everybody puts a study out. I don't know how you measure it, but what do you think companies make of all the time that we spend to worry about our fantasy teams during the football season?
The companies that people work for?
That people work for, yeah.
Yeah, I actually think, you know, I've heard there's been some figure that's put out there that companies losing, you know, billions of dollars every year because people spend so much time at work online checking their fantasy football team. But at the same token, you've got happy employees. I mean, I heard a quote, in fact, this morning, that you can't really take recess away from kids. Does that really hinder their academic status if you take recess away from elementary kids? Same thing with us. We're just older kids.
I'm not sure that's a fair correlation, though. I'm not sure that's a fair correlation, right?
Oh, I mean, come on, Tracy. Don't spoil this.
You know, it's actually, Craig, to follow up on that, I saw an article on CIO.com, Chief Information Officer.com, about it, where they found and they estimate that $10.5 billion in productivity is lost from the NFL as a whole, people either watching the NFL or talking about the NFL or doing their fantasy. And Challenger Gray and Christmas put out a report, too. The average of nearly 1.2 hours per week individuals spend dealing with their fantasy team. So out of a 40-hour work week, 1.2 of those 40 hours are spent solely dealing on your fantasy team.
Yeah, what's wrong with nothing wrong with that? Oh, wait.
Not that we here at the Fox Business Network would know anything about that.
But you don't spend 1.2 hours a week working on your personal finances, do you?
Well, you know, it's all one big story. I work on everybody's personal finances.
It's all intertwined, right? Yeah. Your personal finances are everybody else's personal finances, and we just discuss them here.
Speaking of which, as Chris and I try to get some help in trying to win our respective leagues. Well, you're in a college league, right?
I'm in a college league.
NFL. Craig, I got a guy in my block actually who's in about 5 leagues. I don't know how he does anything. I really don't. But you've got to be into this thing and working at your website. How many teams do you have? Fantasy teams right now?
I'm in 12 leagues right now.
12 leagues? You're not. 12 leagues total, like college, NFL.
No, all just NFL. I mean, there are college leagues out there, but they're not nearly as popular.
You have 12 NFL teams.
Why does it surprise you? This is what he's supposed to do.
I know. That's I know. Yeah, the guys.
But in addition, Craig,
wait, but can I ask quickly? Do you get the same response from basketball and NASCAR, as Chris Carter apparently is part of? Do you get the same kind of enthusiasm from all those other leagues as well?
No, football is clearly number one. In fact, on a recent survey, of all the people that polled that said they played fantasy sports, 91% play football, and there's a big drop-off to baseball, which is the next sport. Basketball is actually kind of on a downtrend. Hockey's up a little bit. NASCAR, as you mentioned, that you play, NASCAR's up a little bit. Even fantasy golf is up a little bit, believe it or not.
How do you play NASCAR?
Not only do I play, like I said, I'm the defending champion. I've been on the podium every single year, all right?
And we jumped into the NASCAR.
Right,
we jumped into the NASCAR scene. We've got in fact, we saw the numbers and we jumped in. We've got something called the Big Tourney, where you have an opportunity to pick drivers, and they compete against each other, and you can win cash prizes for just picking drivers.
All right, back to football for a minute. Give us a sleeper in the fantasy league. I'm sure our viewers would like that. Maybe they're looking to pick up a free agent or something like that. Give us a little bit.
Deep sleeper, James Davis, rookie running back from Clemson. He plays with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the offensive line is a lot better than people think. Jamal Lewis is 31 years old this year. He's on the downswing of his career. James Davis can do everything you like to do. He had 47 career touchdowns at the University of Clemson, and that guy was phenomenal in the preseason. James Davis is a guy who still is not being drafted in 42% of fantasyfootball.com leagues. So
I like those
I think he's out there. Go get him.
You got to look at those backup running backs that are going to get a lot of carries. The ones that you don't think of off the top of your head that, you know, might not be
bigger leagues and all the top backs are taken. You know, so many of these leagues, you really got to drill deep to get those second and third backs.
Yes, it is. We could go all day on this.
I think you need a fantasy cheerleader league too, don't you? I mean, they should be able to pick corresponding cheerleaders.
Tracy's made some very good points today.
This is why I was brought to the table.
Very astute.
I think we've agreed with just about everything you said.
I will wrap this up. You know, the University of Mississippi, I found all these studies on this. University of Mississippi, Ole Miss actually ran a study where they found that 60% of those that play fantasy football watch the pregame shows, where most of us don't. You know, most of us just want to watch the game. Well, that's great for advertisers. 50%, more than 50%, don't drink beer during the game because it's all about business for them. They don't want to get, you know, discombobulated.
That was exactly what happened at our draft. We had beer at the draft, and the guy I'm
by the time
talking
he got
about
to
the
the last
5
round,
leagues.
yeah,
everybody else was drinking, and this guy did not have, after the draft, the beer. But during the draft, focused he was.
50% of the people in this survey cursed out loud at the TV during the game that they found, and then they also found that fantasy football can be used to teach math.
See?
This is an old this is a University of Mississippi report, a University of Mississippi study. It can be used to teach math.
Cotter brings it home again to us.
That's right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Hey, Craig, good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. And thanks for the tips.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Good on the
good luck this season.
Running back out of Cleveland. That's right, with all 12 of your teams.
Seriously.
All right, Chris, we'll talk about, we'll have you back when we do our fantasy lingerie segment. All
I'm
right?
in on that one.
Good man.
I won't be modeling, but I'll be a judge.
That's
I need to understand.